this session just like I did for session 1, which if you weren't here for session 1, I'll show you how to get to it after. There's a blog post with a video, the presentation like the one you're going to see today, and you'll also, any of the like notes and handouts and things like that would be there as well. And that will do the same for today's session. By 4:15, the video from this will be up along with there's 2 handouts for today, the notes from the session and the presentation that we're going to look at now. So, if everyone can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Feel free to interrupt as I go along. Last session was kind of just a monologue, but I guess people are just that enthralled with the content. So what I'm using again today is the tool Prezi. So everyone should, I'm sharing my screen with you right now, so everyone should be able to see that. And what's on your screen right now, it should say what content should I have on my class site. And this is session 2 of 4. Session 1 dealt with why have a classroom website. And today's question is the follow-up, I guess the next logical step to that. And what we'll be looking at specifically today is the content of your site. Not necessarily the design, we're going to look at that in session 3 and session 4. But this will give you some time to kind of give you some direction as to what information you might need to gather in order when we do get to session 3 and 4 and you start building a site. Some of your, some of the questions you will have will be more specific, and some of the direction I can give you will be as well. But basically, today, the first part, what we're looking at here from the picture you see, is strategies to avoid or lessen the feelings of being overwhelmed. And I think that is the biggest hurdle that people have. They look at other people's websites that might have been going on for a year or 2 or more, and they see all the content and they see what that teacher is doing on their site, and they think, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. And again, and people sometimes when they come to my site will say that because there's a lot going on. But again, everyone has to start off with the basics, and that's what we'll go through today. So I guess the slogan that we see a lot lately, keep calm and carry on. So what are some strategies? Well, I think one, you need to reflect throughout the learning process on what you have achieved and the gains that you make as you go and build a website. And it's often easy to focus on what you don't know versus what you do. And you need to congratulate yourself for these gains. And I see this a lot when I work with teachers, that they tend to belittle their achievements. Even though they feel that they're small, when you kind of step back and look at all of these small things that you've learned from where you've started, those individuals should be quite proud of their learning. Remember that building and maintaining a website requires the development of various skills. It takes time and practice to master these, so give yourself the time that you would afford one of your students to learn. And again, that's something that I see teachers quite often do, is they put unrealistic time frames on their own learning while they wouldn't do that at all to a student in the classroom. So you are a learner, so give yourself time. Start small with the basics, and we're going to go over what are the basics in a minute. I'm going to refer to that a couple of times. And we're going to add from there. Don't feel the pressure to add all the features you see on another site when starting out. Pick a few of the basic fundamental things that you need to communicate on your site and start with those. Don't reproduce content that already exists. Think about linking out to things, especially when we start talking about curriculum documents. Be organized and plan ahead. Create a directory of folders on your laptop or your computer that you can store information, and you can start to collect images, Word documents, PDFs, things that you want to have on your site. so that when it comes time to build, you're just pulling these things out, you're not searching the net for them. Develop a routine in regards to working on your site. And I would say address needs in little bites instead of letting things feel like they're piling up on you. And I guess I can give this from an example of doing my classroom site that I had in a routine, and it was even written into my lesson plan, to update my blog at the end of the day when the students left. And this took me about 10 minutes. And I started to learn things like little tricks, like I would keep a Word document open all day. And that Word document, whenever I had a free, second or something, I might type something into it. Or there were even times when I had a student who was maybe a little bit more keyboard savvy, and there was some stuff that was going to be like reminders, not necessarily homework, but reminders for things for the next day. That student would just sit down at my desk and type into the Word document a few things. And so then at the end of the day, what I was able to do is copy that content, paste it into the blog, and then it was just fixing up, a few little grammatical things, maybe putting an image in there or something like that. Don't feel the need, again, to have everything just perfect before you launch your site. I find a lot of people that acts as a barrier, that they don't have, from their checklist, I want these pages on my site, and until I have all of them, I'm not going to put them up. Again, try to think that really there's three basic things that you need to have on your site for it to be worthwhile. And if you have those three, the idea is that you're going to be constantly adding to this as it goes along. So again, don't get stuck on the small things. It's going to grow over time, and it's a living document. So the growth will happen on its own. And you need to prioritize what are the important items and address those in a consistent, logical manner. So the basics. So basically what we're going to be looking at here in this little circle or bubble is, and I've mentioned before that we're going to look at site structure and design in the next session, because that's actually one of the easiest parts. The difficult part is the content, just like when you think of literacy. Today we are looking at what content to add to your site and those basic items. These are things that are strongly suggested from kind of the research that I've done, my own experience, and I adapted. There's a study that on my website, the blog posting with all this material, there's a study in there that I actually used Portal research tools to find, and it's by Miller in 2005, and he was looking at school sites, but I think a lot of the stuff he talks about, especially around perception by audience, it's really applicable to the classroom level. So I've tried to modify that along with some other sites I looked at. So basically we're looking at content today, structure and design later. Those things are how we package it for the audience. And if we do that in a certain way, you're going to be successful. So some of the basics. So when addressing content, I guess this is everything summed up. Keep the subject matter up to date. That's really important. I did a little survey of websites. It would have been yesterday afternoon. I basically visited every site that is housed on, like linked off a school's website in the St. John Education Center district or sub-district. And that would be the main thing that I saw that really would be lacking, is that keeping, again, working into your routine. And it's not like this has to be a daily thing, but it should be a weekly process. And that can go for school sites as well. The biggest turnoff, I guess, for audience, and you can think of yourself because you're a user of websites, if you go to a website that looks incomplete or unfinished or information you can tell because of the timestamp, it's been 6 months since it was last updated, you start to think to yourself, well, really, should I be coming to this site anymore if that person isn't taking the time to put energy into it? So also, and this is helpful when putting content in, like bulleting, keywords, get away from, you don't, long, lengthy paragraphs, like people are busy, you're busy. Just get the key information in there, and your users will be quite happy about that. So simple, short, and direct. So what sort of things are the basics? So what does that include? Well, these are little screenshots. This is actually one from, I went back in time on my Google Calendar to look at what I kept track of on my class calendar. And I look here, like when scholastic book orders are due. I note the time for the DARE graduation, and I might even have thrown, directions to the school and stuff like that in there. I think it was at St. Max. Mental math quiz, career club reports, notices and homework, mental math, like Secret Santa gift. Like, again, I'm trying to give the parents mainly and students an idea of what's going on in my classroom. And a lot of these things can be done ahead of time, and some were things that maybe were in the school newsletter that wasn't present on the school site, but would affect my class, so I added them to the calendar. That's an example. A calendar, the studies show, that's really the number one thing parents are looking for when they come to your site. They want to rely on children copying things into agendas, but depending on the student, that doesn't always happen. So studies are showing this is the main thing they want. So again, this is kind of one of the three. Another thing, class sort of summary, little write-ups. I did daily write-ups. I was fairly consistent, but it was no more than 3 to 4 sentences. I just kind of said, this is what we covered in math today. Language arts, kind of just hit the bigger curriculum areas. I didn't get into specifics of what pages and things like that, but just general concepts that we went over during the day. And this is an example I took from Ann Irvin's. So here she's kind of giving an idea of what happened during the week. Nice, short, simple, and this one it looks like it was actually written by students. Another great idea is having students summarize what happened during the week, have them type it in a Word document or in their student email accounts, and have them send it to you. And that way you just copy and paste it. Here's an example of including not only links, educational links, but here the teacher has embedded into the web page YouTube videos that they're most likely doing in their curriculum. One, you're saving students from going to YouTube to find the videos where you can, questionable material. I sent out that thing today about QuietTube, even though that's not embeddable, kind of the same idea, trying to filter out as much as you can with the understanding that when they're coming to your site that you're trying your best. So here's an example again of sharing educational links. Another example, newsletters. If you're not putting this information into blog posts, if you rather keep your traditional newsletter, posting those. Forms over here, hot lunch forms, milk order forms, those sort of things that students might forget to take home, parents can just print off. This one I thought was great. This teacher, under what they cover monthly in math, this teacher is showing the curriculum outcomes. So the NCOs, I really like that. Being able to relate to the parents, where specifically are we in the year, this month, where are we with math? And she did this for math and literacy as well. So I thought that was very interesting. So it comes back to some of the keys here. Class calendar, contact information, classroom news, links, links back to the school website, grade level curriculum links, what are the standards, the look for documents, like just links out to those, not actual housing them on their site. Website disclaimer, that's something today I think every teacher should have on their site. I have a Word document that I'll share with you guys later. Has it all kind of set out. You just have to kind of substitute where it says teacher name for your name. And classroom level info, just general contact information for yourself, ways that parents get hold of you, what times, school number, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we've kind of went down through the basics, and now when we think of next steps, so once you've orchestrated those onto your site, where do you go from that point? And really, it's looking at there's a few items. Again, it's kind of hard to encapsulate everything that you could be doing, but I picked out a few here. Student publishing. From that study that Miller did in 2005, it was interesting because he took teachers, parents, and students and gathered their perceptions on a variety of things about websites. And when it came to student published works and work samples, that was seen as less important by teachers and parents, and it was seen as most important by students. So here's an example again, and this would be an example I just took a screenshot from my website. This was probably over the course of a year, maybe, of work of students that I would post, and it was all obviously in digital formats. Some of it's PowerPoint, some of it's Smart Notebook files, some of it's Microsoft Publisher files, things like that. But publishing student work was a fairly big thing for me, and I know that students would they can't always share these things with relatives, grandparents, the sense of being a published author, having global community. Like, I was able to share with them that I knew from the back end of my website, I could tell who was coming to my site, and I could show them that globally there are people coming to this site. So that was kind of a neat idea. Other next steps, if you're involved with social media, whether that be YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter, if you are sharing it, show it on your site that this is something that you're doing. And we talked before, I know with the Supper Series last year, developing Twitter accounts, and again, that's something that you can talk to me later on, and developing a teacher account where you're putting out information mainly for parents and depending on the grade level students. And newsletters. I believe Weebly has a feature where parents can sign up for when you make additions to your site. It will automatically email and let them know that there's something new on the site. Other things, again, we kind of showed it before about the weekly newsletter, but just the idea of documents and things that you have in the classroom or have on your machine. Start thinking, are these things that parents would be interested in? Would this be helpful for them to have? And posting them online. And here's another example of how to catalog. Like, putting text into your website as updates is great. If you have students who've signed off on, I think it's policy 311, I think it's in the appendices. It's that thing that at the start of the year all the kids sign off to have if their parents allow you to have their images or name or things like that on the net. Well, if they've had that signed, it's always not a bad idea to send one home if you're going to have a specific use on your website for it, just to let them know. But this is an example of a writing contest that occurred in the school, and they're using photographs to not only in combination with the text. So I guess the point I'm getting at in a very long way is use pictures and images sparingly, but don't overlook the impact that they have for both the student and the community and parents. And that brings us back again to some of the bulleted points, which are all going to be online. One of the things that would be definitely considered kind of an advanced thing to be doing, but it's to examine the analytics of your website. And that's something I can help you set up. Basically looking at the visitor information that's gathered when people come to your website. What pages are they looking at? How long? How many people have come to your site? Where are they coming from? How are they finding you by search terms? That just allows you to design your site in a more intelligent way. If there's a certain page that they're not visiting, well, and you're spending time updating it, then maybe it's time to reflect to see if that's really an important page to have on the site. Maybe your effort and time could be better spent focusing on the area that they do go to. And again, it's always browsing around, trying to find easier ways to do things. So, basically kept to 20 minutes. Session 3, we'll be looking more in depth, starting to look at the website Weebly. I'll orient you to how the site's laid out. I'll start developing just a draft web page that we can add to during the session. And I'll be providing you with a checklist at the end of session 3. And the checklist is basically a rubric, and it sets out, based on what we've talked about today, what are some of the key look-fors, just not in content, but in design, so that when you look at other teachers' websites, you can assess them to see how well they make out, but also when you're done creating your site, the first draft of it, you can take that rubric and kind of score your own site, see areas that you're doing really well in, and areas that maybe you've neglected a little bit. In the final 4 part will be kind of a Q&A that everyone, I hope at that time, would have been able to work on their site, and maybe you have some specific technical questions, and we can go over those and learn from others in the group as well. So what I'll be doing probably tomorrow is sending out an email with the links to the sources that we have today, including I failed to mention this. There's an internet access questionnaire that I developed from a site. I just augmented it a little bit. But basically, it goes on an idea that I had when I was at Island View, is I want to get an idea of who has, if parents and students are going to be my audience, how many of them actually can, if I make something, how many will actually be able to see it? In the questionnaire that you send home, it's a one-pager sort of thing that they just check off and return to you, but it will give you an idea of what type of internet access, if any, do they have, what devices do they have, whether it be iPads, iPods, other type of notebooks, do they have desktops. It will also give you an idea of the frequency that they surf the net and look for information. Are they involved with social media at all? And a little suggestion area of things that they might say, what do they want to see on your site? And then that will, again, that gives you that data to then make informed decisions when designing your site. So if I just bring it over, that email will go out again. That will probably be tomorrow morning. And the web page from today, again, basically has the script of what I read. The questionnaires are here. I've linked out to the website disclaimer, the last session post. There's the presentation from today. And then the resources, these are all the sources, the websites I visited, in order to kind of add some academic background to the presentation. So feel free to visit those if you're looking for more. And by all means, contact me if you have any questions. But that's it for today. Thanks for joining.